G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people. Review of the week time. Monday morning, 7 a.m. usually is when I get these up. I know a lot of people love listening to them going into work as well, and I like doing these as well. So we got a lot to talk. We got to cover the week. We also got to talk about the fights that happened last night, because there was really two fights of note that happened last night. Usyk Dogbay got a win over Gonzalez. Now, Usyk Dogbay, if you were to look up his last few performances, I believe he fought Christopher Diaz as well in a previous fight. You would say that since the Emmanuel Navarrete's fight, since he lost both of them fights, he's been on a bit of a run of form. You'd say that, He's had, a majority win over Adam Lopez. Lopez is a decent-ish contender. Christopher Diaz got a majority win over him. That was back in November last year, and obviously Gonzalez getting a split decision win over him. The reality is, those three fights, realistically, he could have lost all three of them. In fact, I did think he lost the Adam Lopez fight, as did the Christopher Diaz fight. The Gonzalez fight was a little bit harder, realistically. You look at the scorecards, 96-94 for Dogbay, 96-94 for Dogbay, 96-94 for Gonzalez. It was really that type of fight. It was a pretty nip and tuck affair. It really could have gone either way. I would say, just having watched, the majority of the fight, and, haven't given it at least from what I felt, I didn't see the full fight the whole way through, but I got enough of the rounds in. Dogbay looked to be edging it from what I seen. But, he's a featherweight now. It's interesting, right? They have his height listed here. Usyk Dogbay is 5'4". I've seen his height listed lower than that. I've seen his height listed at 5'2" in the past. Now, Dogbay came onto the scene in April of 2018. It seems like an eternity away. It really does. Or, I say eternity, it seems like only yesterday, actually, when I say that's what the words I was looking for. When he fought Jesse Magdaleno. And Jesse Magdaleno, he's had 4 fights since he lost to Dogbay. But Jesse Magdaleno, he's 30 now. Since he lost to Dogbay, he's won them all bar one by decision. The one he didn't win by decision was actually a DQ. He fought twice in 2019, once in 2020, and then recently in 2022, in May just gone. And that was a majority decision, basically at featherweight. And Magdaleno, just going a bit off topic here, but I remember Magdaleno when he beat Nonito Donaire. That was on the undercard of Pacquiao Vargas. I was actually quite impressed with Magdaleno. I thought he looked decent. And, Top Rank were doing a pretty good job with Magdaleno. They were getting him out. They got him at defence in 2017. And he was looking actually alright. But that Dogbay loss really derailed him. And he's never really recovered from that. He never really has recovered when you look at it. He's done absolutely nothing since that loss. And, he took a... It wasn't... He was obviously beaten. He just couldn't keep Dogbay off him in that fight. But it's crazy to see how far he's slidden. And 4 years, so he would have only been about 25, 26. It wasn't like he was an old man who lost his time. He was in his mid-20s when he lost to Dogbay. He's done nothing since then. So Usyk Dogbay moves on. Obviously, Big Farmer Miller, he fought last night. This was his first fight in the United States in, I believe, almost 4 years. I think when he fought, was it Adamek or Dinu? No, it was Bogdan Dinu, I think, his last fight, in the States. He fought a guy called Derek Cardenas, I think that's how you pronounce it. Not a good record, 8 wins, 9 losses. Fought him in Nashville. Now, Miller, who in his fight against Bragamonte, only the back end of June, weighed 341 pounds. He's obviously been dieting, because he was only 328 pounds in this fight. Yeah, he scored a knockout. There's not really much to say about it. Big Farmer, he's knocking about. With Big Farmer Miller, you have someone there who was loud, who was abrasive, who could probably... He can sell himself, he can. but he's such a liability for any promoter because you just don't know. You know, he's lost the guts of a stone, a little over a stone in a month. I mean, so when you're as big as that, you would burn calories a lot quicker. You would. I mean, when you're that size, you know, doing a workout, you would burn them quicker. So maybe he's lost that weight legitimately. But damn, he is he's an interesting one. Is Big Pharma. We'll see what they do with him. In terms of the main news that we can talk about here, so obviously I done a video today and I talked about Anthony Joshua, Oleksandr Usyk, the rematch, and what is the situation there, you know, because obviously the rematch seems to be going ahead. There seems to be no issues there. Usyk is in Dubai. Joshua just touched down in Saudi Arabia last week. But there's been virtually no promotion. And as I said in the video I said, like, a fight of this magnitude, you wouldn't need to sell the hell out of it, if you know what I mean. It's a fight that will sell regardless, you know. AJ Usyk 2, Usyk AJ 2, it's a big fight. It's a big fight. So you wouldn't need to sell it in a sense of you'd need to have it, you know, documentaries, you know, everything going all the time. But there's been literally nothing about this fight. I mean, like, there's literally been nothing other than the 1 month out poster that we seen on Twitter and Instagram. I think it was Matchroom who put that up. But that's it. I mean, that is literally all we've seen. The broadcasting thing is still up in the air. I don't believe, judging by the comments, that we've seen that there's an international broadcaster as of yet confirmed. And in the UK, I mean, the rumour mill is that Sky are not doing it, potentially pulling out. And there could be a situation where, you know, I see, here's the thing, right? Some people could say, like, oh, worst case scenario, they show it on Fight TV and things like that. I don't think they would. I think that they'd need to bid astronomical amounts of money to actually get the rights to that. They really couldn't afford it. BT Sport, judging by some rumours, are saying, well, they don't want to fund, you know, a competitor. You know, they don't want to pay for an AJ fight when he's going off to DAZN straight away. So it's an interesting one. I suspect Sky probably will. They probably will end up showing the fight. I wouldn't worry about, you know, not happening in the UK, not being able to see it. I mean, the worst case, you can always stream it, but I suspect Sky probably will. But I can't imagine they're going to really go, you know, balls to the wall promoting this fight, because at the end of the day, AJ's not their fighter anymore. I don't believe there's any fighters on this card who are affiliated with Sky at all. You know, Badu Jack's not really, Spong's not really, Hrgovic and Zhang are both DAZN fighters. You know, Callum Smith, we don't really know if he's going to be on it or not. You know, I heard on Hatman's live stream, and actually here's another one I want to talk about, actually, just going off the topic I'm talking about there. I was here on Hatman's live stream on Friday. Someone brought up Lawrence Okolie and the Sky situation, and from what I can gather, the plan was for Okolie to fight Gulamarian on this card in the unification, which would have been a good fight, and, you know, I like that fight as well. It's a good fight, but the whole situation with Okolie looking to get out of his contract with Matchroom, the rumour mill is, and again I like it, a rumour, is that now he's no longer with AJ's 258 management, which is really interesting because Anthony Joshua and Lawrence Okolie, it was almost, at times when you saw the two of them, it was almost like a big brother, little brother type story. If you kind of look at it like that, because Okolie, early on in his career, I remember saying it at the time when he was fighting on Sky, very early in his career, that it was like they were trying to build AJ 2.0. The way Okolie would even respond to things was very AJ-esque, in a sense of AJ with the media trained responses, and, you know, the little kind of dead humour that he was kind of coming out with very early in his career, which just didn't work. I mean, AJ is not really the most charismatic guy you'd ever meet, but Okolie really doesn't have the gift of the gab, or doesn't have that just charismatic charm. And they seem very close. I mean, there was obviously stories when Okolie was an amateur that he dropped AJ heavily in sparring. I think that was after the Klitschko fight, or maybe just before the Klitschko fight. It was either one or the other. I think it was actually just before, maybe. But they always seem to have a decent relationship together. And that was one thing I did wonder about, because I did wonder what will the 258 management fighters do if AJ is with DAZN, because I started thinking about Ben Whittaker, because Ben Whittaker is an AJ fighter, you know, so he's a 258 management fighter, so he's fighting on Sky, And AJ seems to be kind of distancing himself with Sky. Is he going to just jump ship and go to DAZN, or what's going to happen there? It's a crazy one. So Coley potentially not only leaving Eddie Hearn, but potentially leaving AJ as well. Look, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think that Eddie Hearn has done amazing things for Lawrence Okolie, and the patience that he showed with Okolie through the years. When Okolie really was in 2018, I said it myself. I said it before. I'll say it again. It's rare that you would have a fighter stink the joint out in twice in a year, and that a promoter would not only still work with you, but would still promote you to high heavens. That's what Eddie Hearn did. I mean, if that was Frank Warren, he would have been trying to put Okolie in there with someone who would have took his head clean off just to get after that. Same with someone like Bob Arum. The exact same with someone like that. Eddie Hearn was just nope, buying him Rolexes. It's crazy, and it sachets into the next topic I want to talk about, which is Demetrius Andre with that call out to Chris Eubank Jr., which I found very bizarre. Demetrius Andre, I hope I didn't say Chris Andre there a second ago. Demetrius Andre, I know Chris wouldn't call out Eubank Jr., the battle of the Chris's. No, Demetrius Andre, he basically made a very bizarre video where he said that he would pay him $1 million, but seemingly to no avail, for Eubank to fight him. Reading from Boxing Scene here, in a 3-minute video, Andre laid into Eubank for not accepting the offer, stating the fact that they are both stars and they can feed their families with the purse and fill out the O2. Yeah, it was a weird one. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. It was a strange one. Demetrius Andre at this stage, I think he's 34, 35. I've rated him throughout his career, been consistent on that. I do think he's a very good fighter, a very talented fighter. $1 million to Eubank Jr. I mean, Eubank has been making more than that. I'm sure Eubank got more than $1 million when he fought Renald Quinlan. Why would he fight Demetrius Andre for $1 million when he's looking at Conor Benn? And yeah, Conor Benn, he wouldn't get the credit. Would he really get the credit for beating Demetrius Andre either? I know some people don't really rate him, but he definitely get more credit for beating Demetrius Andre, but it's a much riskier fight than he would for beating Conor Benn. But he's going to get quadruple what Demetrius Andre is offering. And with Demetrius Andre, I really do think he's kind of in a limbo now. He's kind of stuck. He's been in a bit of a rut now because he worked with DAZN and Matchroom. He was paid by all accounts very well for all the fights he's had with DAZN and Matchroom, but he's not with them now. And the fight he was meant to have with Zach Parker at super middleweight, that's dead in the water. He's talked about not being able to do middleweight, but obviously he's willing to do it to come down and fight Chris Eubank Jr. Demetrius Andre still hasn't got that signature win yet. I mean, who is his best win? Liam Williams? And it's a weird one, because this is someone I saw when he fought Brian Rose just look tremendous. I know Brian Rose was never the best, but you see the talent in him, the speed, the power, the shot selection, the athleticism. And for some reason, now, some of it is largely down to his own part, the issues he had with Top Rank, because he was obviously a Top Rank fighter back then, being in limbo, with not having a promoter. I think he fought on a Goosen card. Was it Joe Goosen? I always get, there's two Goosens. Was it Dan Goosen or Joe Goosen? He's dead now. The promoter used to promote Andre Ward. He, I think he worked with him briefly, and then he went with Eddie Hearn. And that Billy Joe Saunders fight being cancelled in 2018, for me, I think that would have been Demetrius Andre's coming out party. I really do, because I really have that heart to think he would have beaten him. I really do. If that fight had happened, it was meant to happen in Massachusetts, in Boston, I think, in the Boston Gardens. And I genuinely believe that Demetrius Andre would have won that fight. It might not have been the most friendly on the eye, it might not have been the most entertaining fight, but I feel he would have been able to edge Billy Joe Saunders. And I think if he did, that really would have opened the door for him. And now we're in a case where he's 35. Have we seen the peak of Demetrius Andre? We possibly have. And that's sad, because I think he had a lot to offer the sport. I think he's better than people make him out to be. I do think to some extent he comes to the level of his opponent at times. That's something I think he has done. There's also been times where I felt that he's played it a bit too safe where he could have just gone in and just made an example of his opponent, but he didn't, and he's dragged it to a decision or a very late stoppage, like against Willie Nelson. If you've ever seen that fight, he could have got rid of that guy in a couple of rounds. He let it go 12 rounds, and he stopped the guy in the 12th round, but he shouldn't have been going that long. He should have been going a couple of rounds and being done with it. So it's interesting. Billy Joe Saunders back about on social media, not really calling for anybody, but the jury's still out on Billy Joe, what he's going to do. You're hearing conflicting reports about Billy Joe. You know, some are saying that he's actually back training with Dominic Ingle. He's looking to link up with him again. And then you have other reports saying he's retired. You know, I don't know. I mean, like, I did at one point think that Billy Joe was done. But if he comes back... See, the thing about Billy Joe coming back, I can't see him coming back for anything other than big fights. I really can't. I think he just wants to get the big fights in, get them made, and that be it then, basically. That's what I see from Billy Joe. I don't think that he is in for, you know, building himself back up and trying to get a title shot. I think he's just in to try and get a Golovkin fight or something like that, and then that's the end of it. But we shall wait and see. Speaking of Demetrius Andre, as I was just there, the WBO have actually ordered him to fight Yalibek Akhmadaliev. I always get names like that mixed up. Akhmadaliev. Next, the WBO letter has Demetrius Salita as the promoter listed for Demetrius Andre. Demetrius Salita, wow. I mean, Salita is kind of more I don't want to say smaller time promoter. He's not like a small time promoter like you have here in the UK, but he's definitely not one of the big hitters. You know, in terms of some of the other news, the rematch for Devin Haney versus George Kambosos for the undisputed lightweight world titles is reported to take place on October 15th at the Rotw Arena in Melbourne, venue famous for hosting the Australian Open. Wow. So October 15th we will have the rematch. Thoughts on that rematch? Nah. You know, I'll watch it. I'll see how it goes. Am I, you know, super excited about it? Not particularly, no. I can see why Kambosos is taking it, because really, realistically, like, I mean, like, he didn't take a serious beating at all. He was just outboxed in the first fight. I can't really see him making the adjustments. I think that Devin Haney, bit like Oleksandr Usyk, has more gears to go through. And he really only needed to stick a jab on Kambosos and do what he needed to do, keep his distance, and that was it. So I think we're going to be in for a similar fight, but we will see. Maybe Kambosos will surprise me. Who knows? October 15th in Australia. Well, we will wait and see what happens there. Shakur Stevenson will fight Robson Conceição, defending his unified super featherweight world titles on September 23rd. Shakur Stevenson in there against Conceição. Conceição arguably should have been a former WBC champion. I felt he beat Oscar Valdez. He's a very, very capable opponent, very good. So I'm happy with that fight. I always like seeing Shakur, and it'd be interesting to see. And Vasily Lomachenko on his return being planned in October. Bob Arum has said Lomachenko versus Shakur is a fight that has to be made in the not too distant future, potentially next year. Now, I think that Lomachenko still has a lot to offer. I'd like to see how he looks in October. I would, because it'd be nearly a year since his last fight. If Lomachenko has another good 2 years in him against Shakur is an interesting fight. I don't know who I'd pick. I'd need to see how Lomachenko looks in October and against who he's in there with before I can make a judgment and say he'll definitely beat Shakur or I think Shakur would win. Either way, it's a fantastic fight. But I'd like to see how Vasily Lomachenko looks and who he's in there with against come October before I'd really say. If we're talking about the Lomachenko who fought Comey, who fought Nakatani, I think he beats Shakur. I do. But if he's regressed, because he's not getting any younger, then Shakur all the way. I think Shakur's super talented. I think he's special. Bahram also revealed that Josh Taylor, Jack Catchell rematch in the works, being targeted for late November, so a late one in the UK, late year. So first fight happened in February, next one's going to happen in late November, possibly early December. So quite a bit of a distance away, but we will get the rematch. And, you know, I'm just going to say it here. I personally feel that Josh Taylor wins the rematch. I know a lot of people are speculating and they're saying, now Jack Catterall, he should have won the first fight, and I admit that, he should have. Definitely, it was a horrible decision, one of the worst I've seen. But that was the worst I've ever seen Josh Taylor in the ring. Honestly, that was the worst I've ever seen him. And a bit like Charlo when he fought Castano the first time. When that fight was over, I was thinking Castano was going to win the rematch. But then I was thinking, hang on a minute. Castano brought his A game, and Charlo didn't. And if Charlo brings his A game in the rematch, he should win, and he did. And I genuinely see that being the case with Josh Taylor. I think he'll bring his A game to this rematch, and Josh Taylor, firing on all cylinders, is a better fighter than Jack Catterall, and I think he should win. He realistically should win that fight. Will they try and do it on pay-per-view? Is Jack Catterall? I know he gained a lot of a big reputation. I know a lot of people follow them on Instagram and Twitter following on from that loss. But was it such a controversial loss? Does it warrant a pay-per-view? I don't know. We will cross that bridge when we get to it. I seen Sonny Edwards beating up an internet troll there yesterday. And, you know, he was getting trolled by a guy on Twitter. And Sonny Edwards said, come to the gym and spar. He came to the gym. Sonny Edwards was told he was there. So Sonny Edwards went in there and sparred him. And realistically, like, Sonny Edwards toyed with him. You know, he just played with him, and he tried to like intimidate him by just banging the gloves together. And I seen Chris Andre say that is a lesson for that internet troll, in the sense of it's better to learn it that way than for things to boil over in a street fight and things like that. And I agree absolutely wholeheartedly with that. And I just don't understand what they gain from it. You know, people who go out and just accounts troll. Oh yeah, I'm saying this, I'm that. You know, it's bizarre. To me, it's just bizarre. I don't get it. And Sonny Edwards, that's not the first fighter I've seen offer trolls that on Twitter. I remember Gary Cully, I think it was a few months ago. He was having issues with it. Shout out to Gary Cully every time. Big up. Got a lot of respect for Gary Cully. He, I think, offered someone a spar in the gym once, said, here's the address, here's the time, here's the date. And of course, that guy didn't show up. And I'm just thinking, what do these guys actually think they're going to get out of it? Like, do they actually think like that they could go in, spar a professional fighter who's, you know, very good and is beating other guys? And what do they actually think they're going to get out of it? You know, and again, like it takes any idiot can go and make up a Twitter account and start saying, say all this. But the other day, they're doing that from the comfort of their own keyboard. It's like that scene in South Park from the World of Warcraft game where there's a guy going around killing everybody and people are like, oh, who is this guy? Is he? And it's just some fat guy sat at his computer desk who could barely see his toes. You know, that's 9 times out of 10 what you're dealing with when you see these guys. And I think the way Edwards dealt with that, some people are giving him flack for it. At the end of the day, he didn't like knock the guy out cold or anything like that. He just intimidated him, made him miss, made him pay, banged his gloves together. And that's really it. Like, and I think that's better that than for that to spoil over or something happen in the streets, as Chris said. And I agree wholeheartedly with that, because anything can happen. I mean, anything can happen in that regard. And you just don't need that. I don't understand that. And I think the social media age, I mean, like, I can't say anything because I have a YouTube channel, and if it wasn't for YouTube I wouldn't get to go to events and things like that, and I get that. But you have people nowadays who get so lost they get so lost in the world of social media, you know, to the point where, like, you know, likes on Instagram matter more than anything. You know, you say to someone, what would you rather? Would you rather, you know, have him, I don't know, just chuck something out there, a meal with your family and no phone? Or would you rather see something where you can get likes? Give me the likes on. I love the likes, you know. I just want to keep getting likes. It's bizarre, you know. It's crazy, you know. It really is. And you know, Sonny Edwards, you know, some people don't like Sonny Edwards. I didn't really like him too much at this when I first started seeing him fight and stuff like that. I thought he was a bit of a dickhead, but he's definitely grown on me a lot over the last 2 years. He really has. And I actually don't think Sonny Edwards is that bad a guy. I don't think he is. I think that deep at heart, I think he's a cool guy. And certainly Sonny Edwards' boxing brain. I mean, whether you like him as a person or not, yes, that's your opinion. But he's got a good boxing brain. I mean, if you see him as a pundit, fantastic. great knowledge of the game, great knowledge of boxing, Sonny Edwards, and that's one thing you definitely can't take away from him. He's great boxing brain, and him and Grant Smith, that's a great pairing because those two have brilliant boxing knowledge between them. That's really nice fit when you have a trainer and a fighter who equally, really get the sport and they really understand it. It's brilliant. So big up to Sonny Edwards. Finally, Ben Eubank. I just said I'd touch on this briefly. So much for the fight announcement being this week or last week. We haven't heard zilch yet. Absolutely zilch. What is the crack with this fight? Are we going to get it? I don't particularly want to see it, personally. But it looks ever more likely that we are. I saw Conor Benn in an interview. I didn't watch the interview, but the title was that he was refuting the allegations that there's a rehydration clause in it. I mean, God only knows that. I just don't even know. Wouldn't surprise me if this coming weekend up in Sheffield at the Dalton Smith card that's happening up there. It's not a big card. It's more a kind of glorified next gen card, but I'll still watch it if I'm not out, because next weekend is a bank holiday. But if it's don't know, I'll sit and watch it. I won't do a watch along, but I'll watch it. I like Dalton. I like watching Dalton Smith. He's a good fighter. So I wouldn't be surprised maybe if we get an announcement there, potentially, possibly. But yeah, I'm wondering what's the deal with this fight. I really am. For now, I'll leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed Review of the Week. Obviously, I've got a guest hopefully coming on Tuesday, and potentially maybe more this week. Watch the space. But for now, that's Review of the Week done for another week. Keep the support going. We are absolutely smashing through 8K. I mean, honestly, people, it's actually quite amazing how far we've come over the last month. I mean, that AJ 3 Reasons Why You Beat Usyk video is still doing crazy numbers. Right now, it's at 40,000 views. 40,000 views, that's crazy. And the subscriber count is just, 8,548 at the time of recording. Woke up this morning with 8,522. So it's it's just exponentially growing every single day, and I just can't. It's brilliant, and it's just 10K is all I want. I really want that, and obviously I don't want to say all I want. I want to keep going, obviously, but right now that's the next little box ticked off, and yeah, it's crazy. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could, smash the like button. Help your boy out. Link in the description. Have a look at that for the old sponsors. ExpressVPN. 12 months. You get 3 months off if you use the link, which is the G-Man code down there. Just saying. Just going to plug that as well. Don't plug it enough, but it's there. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Have a great day. Have a great week. Peace.